Hello, my name is Silveroxis, and this week's unit coming to Octopath Traveler COTC is Pirro. He is a dreamer that's striving for more from the Octopath Traveler to Throne story. So he is a thief, and his main role is a dagger DPS, just like Throne, because he also works for the Black Snakes like her. Well, works is a strong word. His special abilities are that he has a 50% chance each turn to double cast. He just has better odds than the other chance double cast units, and some of his skills also exploit dark weakness. So his preferred weapons would be Cosmic or Brilliant Daggers to get damage cap up, or Fortune Daggers for P attack up if you have some damage cap accessories. His preferred accessories would be damage cap up accessories, a dagger damage up accessory until Bargello 6-star Tiziana release if you're using him still, and then otherwise just P attack increasing gear. For his passive skills, his 1-star passive is he gets a self 15% physical attack up, critical up, and dagger damage up, but also has 15% speed down. He's a thief, his speed's fine, so the speed down doesn't really matter. So that getting 50% attack up and dagger damage up, that's always good. The crit up's nice as well. 3-star passive is at the start of each turn. He has a 50% chance to gain a double cast buff for that turn. Basically, this is the same as Joshua's if you've used him at all. You will see the buff activate, so you'll know if he's double casting that turn or not. So while it is RNG, at least you can try to play around it, and then you just kind of hope that he decides to double cast when you want him to unbreak. His TP passive is just another 15% physical attack up, so it's really basic, but it just caps his physical attack up to 30%. So that means it really doesn't matter if Bargello's there, although he should be, because he's going to have 30% P attack up by himself now without any other conditions. So like the person behind him doesn't need like the Orphanage postcard anymore. So I mean it's basic, but it's good. 30% physical attack up. So moving on to his skills, his base skills, he has a 2-hit single target dagger, a self 15% physical attack dagger damage up for 3 to 6 turns, a 1-hit single target dagger with a medium chance to inflict bleeding for 2 turns, a 2-hit AoE dagger that always reduces shield points regardless of weakness. Then he has a skill that recovers 50 SP or more based on boost level, inflicts poison on self for 2 turns, but he gives himself guaranteed double cast on the next turn. So this is actually useful because now you can get rid of the RNG of his double cast if you really want to guarantee he's going to do double cast his next skill. He does self poison himself, but like that's not that big of a deal because you probably have a regen caster anyway. 3-star skill is a 3-hit single target dagger, also with the medium chance to inflict bleeding for 2 turns. That, like the other bleeding dagger skill, is just kind of bad because bleeding doesn't really matter. It's very minimal damage. His 4-star skill is a priority 3-hit AoE dagger that also grants himself 20% critical and speed up for 2 turns. It's just really expensive at SP cost. His 5-star skills, he has is a 1-hit single target dagger that also exploits dark weakness. It inflicts 20% physical attack, magic attack down for 2 turns. So it's just anti-attack, but it's part of his nuke. Then his main best skill is his 5-hit single target dagger. The power increases by 1.2 times 20% if Pirro has 6+ buff / debuff icons on him. That's like a super easy condition to meet because like passive buffs count, his self-poison debuff counts, like it's super easy for this condition to be met, so it'll pretty much always be met. So it'll increase the damage by 20%, and so this is the skill you'd want to, hopefully he double casts, or you set up the guarantee double cast with this other skill, because that way he does a 10-hit, and the 6-star upgrade makes the skill exploit dark weakness as well. And then his TP skill is just the 1-hit single target dagger nuke. It's just one of those classic Giga nukes for 300 SP. You're not going to use this because it's just going to slam damage cap for free. Moving on to his EX skill and his ultimate technique. His EX skill has 2 total uses, and it's unlocked after using his ultimate at least once. It's a 1-hit single target dagger that exploits dark, but it also inflicts 15% physical attack, physical defense, magic attack, and magic defense down for 2 turns. So it's just a debuff everything for 2 turns skill. It's, you know, it's useful. It's good because like you can throw that out to only do 1 shield and, you know, help cap debuffs and stuff. His ultimate technique is a DPS class ultimate, so it takes 4 BP to charge from level 8. It's called Cigarette End. It's a 6-hit single target dagger that exploits dark weakness, and it is 50% more potent if Pirro has 8+ buff/debuff icons. This is also very easy condition to meet. So it starts at 6 times 65 power at level 1, and it scales to 6 times 80 power at ultimate level 10, which, if it's also 50% more potent, then it's also 6 times 120 at ultimate level 20. The priority for this ultimate is that you'd want to A1 him first because he's a DPS, so the base physical attack would matter more than being able to do ultimate twice, plus it being stronger. I would say that it's also fine if you want ult in it after if you have extra copies, because when we get to his A4, you'll see that his A4 is just not very good. The main thing about his ult is that it is a good nuke, being a 6-hit dagger that's pretty strong. It's just that, so it is useful to have ready, because he can't double cast his ult. So, for example, if you double cast his 10-hit dagger on the first turn of break, and then he decides to not RNG double cast the next turn of break, then his ultimate's the best go-to nuking option afterwards. So moving on to Awakenings and his A4 accessory. A1, he's a DPS. DPS likes A1. Just, that's enough said. A2 is a luxury. He doesn't really need 4 skill slots. A3, HP is always good. Like, you can never go wrong with having more HP. And then moving on, his A4 accessory is called the Worn Out Cigarette Case. It gives 40 SP, 60p attack, and 40 crit. Its abilities are self 300 HP and 20 SP regen. And then only when it's night, it'll also give 15% dagger damage up. So, much like a worn out cigarette case would be in real life, his A4 tier rating is a C. It's not good. The stats are very middling. The ability is not that great because there's other A4 accessories that give higher HP regen. SP really isn't that big of an issue. His pool isn't that tiny to begin with. And there's other accessories that get SP regen. He has self 30% physical attack up, so his row partner behind him could use one of the 4-star A4s for SP if you really need it, since they don't need the Orphanage postcard anymore. Like, it's not that good of an ability. And, like, the damage up, that would then cap his dagger damage up if he wanted it for that. It's restricted to time of day for some dumb reason. It's one of the only abilities that only like accessories that do that. It's very few do that. Luckily they don't do it anymore, because it makes it useless in fights where you're forced to fight in the day. Like the new Delsta 120, that's a very difficult fight that you can use dagger against. You can only fight her during the day, so then the dagger damage up from this accessory just doesn't work. Or many Orsteran fights where, like, if you've noticed in the EX fights how it says time of day is fixed in the bottom right corner of the EX fights, some of them are at night. So yes, this would work for some of the fights, but some of the fights it just won't work. So it's just not good. It's really silly to have that condition for no reason. So yeah, don't chase this. So moving on to an optimal skill layout for him. So his first skill should always just be his 5-hit single target dagger. This is his main nuke. You want him to double cast it, so it's a 10 hit. It's also just good for shield shaving. Second skill is actually one of his base skills, is the self 15% physical attack dagger damage up. This will cap with Bargello's buff to give him 30% in both, which is great. And this is also great for stalling if he's double casting on a turn you didn't want him to. Because like when you're setting up for break turns and whatnot, generally you're trying to do precise amounts of damage, or precise amounts of shields. And if you're doing his 5-hit, but then he's going to be like, oh, I'm going to double cast this turn, and a 10-hit would be too much, then you can use his self-buff again to just extend it, or just do like a normal attack. Of course, it's always an option, but basically it's good to give an option that can let you stall but do something beneficial. For his third skill, I actually do recommend taking the Recover SP plus, even though it poisons himself, but guarantee double cast. This is actually good because if you use this the turn before break, then it guarantees that the first turn of break he's going to double cast, so that way it gets rid of a little bit of his RNG, and no RNG is always good. And then if you do have A4, I mean not A4, A2, or you want to swap in other skills depending, I can recommend taking a 3-hit single target dagger, because this is just good for basic shield shaving or setting up breaks. Also not listed would be the AoE daggers that shield shave, just in case. He's not really an AoE damage dealer, but it is an option depending on the fight. For unit synergy, so Bargello's great. It caps his active physical attack and dagger damage up with his own self buff. Gives him damage cap, and also can do some dagger res down. Sonya can do dagger res down, both active and ultimate dagger res down. Very, very good. Canary, very obvious, breaks for him. Does all the debuffs and dagger res down even more active. Signa, I'm not going to explain why. Primrose EX for regen and ultimate buffs, and Solon for potency up ult, so Pirro goes burr. So whether you should pull or not to pull for Pirro, so Pirro is very much like Throne. I would rate him kind of like the King of Daggers to her Queen of Daggers. Their differences is that his double cast is RNG, not terribly so, and hers is reliable but only once per break. She has guaranteed crit and extra ended damage cap, but he has slightly higher potency output for his 10-hit. So like she's slightly more reliable and has better support options, but he just hits harder and can also exploit dark weakness. So like he's probably better for speed clearing, because like if you're speed clearing, you're going to reset for the RNG anyway. So like overall, they both do the same job, pretty much about the same, all things considered, and they both just get replaced by Kayn when Kayn shows up all the same. So like if you got Throne, you really don't need Pirro, and technically you should probably just have skipped both of them anyway, because while they're both cool units, Kayn's just better. The only gimmick that Pirro really has is that he can hit dark. So, as always, if you love the character from Octopath Traveler 2, you should always just ignore pull advice and the meta and just have fun your way. But that being said, based on your tier of play, if you're like a tier 4 player, I just skip, wait for Kayn. Tier 3, same thing, just skip, wait for Kayn. Just enjoy the off week. You're tier 2, like a Dolphin, I would say A1 at most. He's good for DPS. If you chose Throne, you could skip him. You don't need him. You don't really need both, because you're really only going to use one in a team. This is an excellent choice for an anti-selector, though. That is personally my plan, because I do want to get every unit myself. And so leaving a couple limiteds out that I can just use the paid selector at the anniversary to get guarantee versus gambling at 50-50 is just, to me, seems like a good idea. So that's can be an option if you want to get him there. If you're a tier 1 whale player, A1 ult 10 is enough. His A4 is bad, so I would, even if you're a whale and can spend money, I wouldn't chase it unless you're an A4 collector. So of his overall rating, I would say that he is an S+ DPS. You know, his 10 hits very strong. It is stronger than Throne's. His support is pretty bad. I'd rate it as like a D, because he really only has that one anti-attack dagger and his EX skill. He doesn't have any healing or tank options, and so then his overall tier would just be a solid A. He's very good at what he does, very limited to dagger and dark, but then he just gets completely replaced by Kayn in the future for dagger. So, you know, he's fun for a while. King of Daggers is an adequate title for a while, because he's going to do a lot of damage, same as Throne, and they both can be very fun to use. So if you decide to go for him, let me know how you did. And if you don't decide to go for him and save, you know, that's fine too. So thanks for watching, and if there's any other kind of content you'd like to see for Octopath Traveler COTC, please be sure to let me know. Please like, follow, and subscribe for more COTC guides, contents, and other stuff like that. And thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.